Hey guys, how are we doing? It's Crypto Insight UK here, bringing you back a TA video. What we're going to do today is just have a quick look at the markets, have a look what we're setting up for, maybe some price, support and resistance levels. We're also going to have a look at global equities. I think I've noticed something that I hadn't seen before. I put a lot of weight on the FOMC meeting in the Fed, and I actually think there's another element that's really affecting the markets that we haven't taken into consideration too much yet. But I don't want to leave you in a negative tone, because I actually think that the overall sentiment for crypto specifically is bullish, and we will finish on that note because I know that people like to finish on those sorts of notes. So if you enjoy this video, I really think I'm going to show you some stuff that you might not have taken into consideration so far. If you enjoy it, please hit that like and subscribe. I'm going to break the channel down into 3 different sections, as I said: TA, normal news, and XRP news, Ripple news specifically. Hit that like, subscribe, share it with a friend, and drop a comment. It'll always help me out with the videos. Thank you very much. So we'll just go back to this, a bit more of a macro view. I talked about this a few times. When we have this bullish cross in the RSI above the 14 SMA, we seem to have a bit of a rally. So we had the cross back on the 5th of October 2020, and we did have a nice big rally up there. I think it's like 500% if I remember off the top of my head. Yeah, 487-ish, but I didn't even measure from the bottom, and then about 150 the next time, and we've just had our the third time this happened. So this is the second time that it happened there, where these vertical lines are drawn in, and this is the third. So when we did cross on the time before this, we had broke out above the SMA. We came back and retested it for another further push up, which was this push here, and then we had China banning Bitcoin, if you guys remember. I think it was this time frame here, yeah, August, September sort of time, and then we rallied up further to set a new all-time high, and then we came down, found some support. We're trying to break out of this range now. We've come back, and we're looking to push back up again. Are we retesting that SMA for a further push, or have we broken this pattern and will we come down a bit further? Let's have a look on the daily. I personally believe that we are in an uptrend here. We are looking we are setting higher lows and higher highs, as I will show you. If I can just draw some little drawings in here, if I can find my little pen, which I cannot for some reason. Okay, well, never mind on that then. Oh yeah, here we go. So there's a low there with a higher low, and if we can set some sort of support around here, we are slowly stepping upwards, as you can see. Stepping up, look. They're the sort of patterns that you want to be seeing out of Bitcoin at the minute. Slow retracement, give the alts some time to move. I did think we might have broken through this range. We look to have faked out of it. Again, the volume's not too high. We did have that break, but we are coming down. Look at the RSI here. We've got a lot of space if we do try and find some support level. Some arguments have been thrown around that we could be in a ascending parallel channel, which would look a little bit like this. Again, it's just going to be rough for now. We'll just go a bit in here, shall we? Boom, boom. It could be something like that. We've obviously wicked out below there. We could come a bit further down. We could change this angle around a little bit. Let's have a look where we could find some support levels. So we could come all the way down to maybe the 37,000 range and still be in a bullish channel. They're the sort of things that you need to be watching, guys, to be honest. Like, are we respecting a pattern like this? Again, there's so much going on a macro level. It's really tough to be putting any specific TA on things, because anything can change, as I'm literally going to show you in a minute. But we'll just get into some of the crypto TA short term at least. I would like to see this 42,000, between 40 and 42,000 level held. There's been previous resistance levels here. I'll show you on the 4 hourly. We've had a lot of price action in and around this level. Can we hold this? We may actually come down to, as I said, the 39,000, hold the top of this. Well, we found a support here. I'm trying to show you what I'm looking for. So we found this as support at the bottom here, look, you see, and then this was resistance above. Resistance above here. Look how straight those lines are. It's good, isn't it? So when we could come down and hold that resistance as support, so in and around this sort of area is what I'd be maybe looking for a bounce, if we can't hold the current levels that we're at now, because we have some weak resistance and slash support in these areas as well. So we could hold in and around here. As you can see on the RSI, we are close to being oversold on the 4 hourly. We are bearish on the 4 hourly. and the hourly close to being oversold again and bearish there too. So that's just something to keep your eye on. I do think personally, again, not financial advice, this is a great accumulation period, and I'm going to show you some reasons as to why again later in this video. But we'll have a look at Ethereum next, for example. Let's have a look at ETH. Let me get it on the daily. So ETH was looking pretty bullish yesterday up until today, and it's lost the 200 and the 50-day moving average. But I have stressed this multiple times, guys, that we can't just move up in a straight line. I pointed this out so many times when we were on this push up. I was like, look, we've had what, almost 20, 30 blooming green candles. At some point we are going to reject, and we are going to come down to look for some support before making our next leg up. We do it every single time we make a move. Let's just take Bitcoin for example. Let's go back to that weekly. I can show you more easily on that weekly. Look, we have that breakout, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and a half, 7 candles, and then we have a retracement. We find some support and we go up again, and it happens every time. Look, guys, we break up, we come down, we break up, we come down, we break up, and it happens on the way down too. We just haven't really seen it yet, which is basically a lot of people are calling for this being the Bitcoin top, or it's potentially possible. And if that is the case, you don't just break all the way down, you break down, you retrace, you break down. So that's what people are looking for a potential alt season. So don't get bearish on that sentiment either if you're an altcoin holder. So in my eyes at the minute, we are still medium term bullish, even if we have top for Bitcoin. If you're an altcoin holder, XRP holder, this is the time when XRP will take off in that retracement, when Bitcoin starts to retrace. As I said, we're looking at a pattern a bit like this, boom, 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 maybe up towards a 702 retracement, wherever that may come in, 786, maybe somewhere around there, and we can have a little look from the top where those levels might be. Which will be, take that for the top there, we'll come down, we could be looking up towards this sort of level here, 58,000 to the 61,000 level. So that was almost pretty spot on, that little zigzag pattern I just drew freehand, boom, 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 boom. We could retrace here, and that's looking like July, look, or August, and come back down for a further leg down. But again, they are just freehand sketches. They don't take anything from that. It's just an idea of sort of price action. So what else are we looking for? Well, I personally am looking at the DXY, which is the dollar strength index, basically dollar currency index, I think it actually stands for. And on that dollar currency index, look, we are approaching the 786, which you actually rejected 1, 2, twice in the past, broken through once to set the all-time high up here at 103, and then again we tried to re-break it in May of 2020, did push out above for a week or two, or a few days even, then struggled below it, and we came all the way back down again. We're approaching that very imminently. We've had a real fast rally up, and again, guys, as I say, do you rally up in a straight line? No, this has taken steps as well, but again, they're quite violent. So would we see something like that for a turnover? I'm not sure. Come and set a lower low. Again, it's very hard to tell. It's on the market, but this is definitely an area to look out for on the DXY, with previous resistance here, and that is up at that 100-ish level. A nice whole number there as well that people like to latch onto, so that's something to keep your eye on. So maybe the dollar strength will have a final little push up, blow off top, and then maybe a bit of a rollover. And then we'll have a look at the S&P, or the SPY, so S&P 500. I personally think we've got another leg up to go here. I would actually compare this to where we were down here, and the reason, some things I want to talk about are that, okay, well, we've been in this accumulation period for a little while. I don't think we're yet bearish. We've been, since we set the last high, we've been in this accumulation period for 65-ish days, 70 odd days. Let's have a look again. I'll draw it a bit more cleanly. 95 days, actually. I'm sorry about that. We've been in this range for 95 days. I was comparing it to this area down here, where from this level, yes, we did set a slight all-time high, but again, we didn't actually really push on out of this zone for about 500 days. And if you take this bars pattern, which is actually from here, look, I'll redraw it so I can show you guys. It is from down there. Let me just get rid of it. We'll just take this drawing here, bang, bang. Obviously the time period's a lot less from where we are now. So if we look at something like that, look, even the drop's pretty similar in length. Could we be V-bottoming out of here? It looks kind of like this sort of pattern. Yeah, you might have to condense it because the length's not as long so far, but it looks to be a similar sort of pattern as that. Look, we come up, we have this first initial dip, we then push up a little bit higher, we come down, have a bit of a deeper dip, we start to push out, and on the way, look, there's turbulence. If I stretch this out, you can see, look, there's turbulence along the way. So it's very similar in the sort of structure. Look, we're coming down, we're coming up with turbulence. I would say, if we're going to compare it, I would say we're looking, let me have a look at my little circular tool. This section here that we're in now is similar to this section here. That's what I'd say. That's where I'd say we were, which would be this section here, guys. So that's basically where I'm looking at. That's where I'm looking. Let's have a look. Boom. Maybe even further up to this section, and we could be looking to make that push out of this zone. So they're just some literal ideas. Again, TA is a lot about ideas and trying to use previous price action to predict the future events. It's not a fine art. It's not certain. It's just ideas, price ideas. So some things to take into consideration then, and this is what I really want to hone in on and finish the video with. So the MCHI, which is basically an index of some Chinese equities. I think China is the space to be looking right now. Actually, I'll touch on gold just before I look into China. So gold, I think there's definitely an option for this bullish play to play out, but I actually genuinely am changing my thesis on gold as we speak. I do think that we may double reject this top and then come down and set a lower low. I don't know why I feel like that. It's just something is really pushing towards that for me. We may break out up towards that $2,500 mark, but I actually genuinely think we will potentially roll over from this point and start to head back down again. I don't know why I've got that belief in my head, and I will reinforce that when I have more than just my personal inkling, so I don't want to get too much into that. But potential bullish play for gold is this cup and handle pattern. It's came down, it's found support on top of the range high that we talked about, pushing up back towards this $2,000 mark. I do think we'll see that again, and then from there is where it will get interesting for me. But anyway, we'll look back at the MCHI, which is again the a Chinese equities index. This is very interesting to me because on the daily. So we've had these issues with Chinese stocks and shares recently, with the Evergrande, etc. And then on the 15th of March, the day of the FOMC meeting, where all eyes are on the FOMC, and even me specifically, I took a trade on the FOMC, thinking about the interest rate hikes and how that might affect the market. I overlooked what was happening in China and the Chinese equities market, because if you actually look what's happened, this is actually a huge jump. So on this day, from the open in the Chinese equities market, the close the next day, we had a 25% jump in Chinese equities. That is huge. This isn't crypto, guys. This is a massive day. Huge day for Chinese equities there. And this was brought to my attention from Real Vision. And what actually happened was, between the 28th and the 28th of February and the 15th of March, the Chinese equity market fell by 26% or 25%. The government intervened and tried to reassure investors. Vice Premier Liu, sorry about pronunciations, promised to keep stock market stable, support foreign listings, new policies for property developers, and signals the end of its effort to rectify internet platform companies. The index surged by 22.4% between the 15th and 31st of March, still closed at a loss of 7.7% as as they have been downtrending anyway. But that's a very interesting push here with a massive volume spike and a 25% push. So that's something definitely to watch out for. And today and this week we may have further depreciation in the stock market, depending on obviously what happens in the US and how they can keep this afloat. But it affects everyone that Chinese markets fall as Shanghai lockdown squeezes supply chain. So that's again something that I would be keeping your eye on if you're an investor in any of these markets. It looks to be that the Chinese markets are really influencing everything around the world, and we could be seeing a double bottom on the Chinese markets here for a push out. There was a massive scare with Evergrande, of course. We haven't cleared these waters yet, but again, it's definitely something to keep your eye on what's going on in China. We've obviously got C19 reappearing, what's going to happen between China and Russia. I'll keep you up to date with that as I dive more into this, but I just thought it's a very interesting thing to point out that I don't think anyone's really talking about right now. I do think that the Chinese markets are front running the US and everything, all eyes are on the US and the Fed, but it's actually the Chinese markets that could be pulling these strings, because this news about China came out before the FOMC meeting. In fact, I think it was published at 5 a.m. GMT on the day of the FOMC meeting, which was actually at like 6 p.m. So like 13 hours later, we had the FOMC. Obviously, the markets wouldn't rally too much before the FOMC because there's still the uncertainty that something might happen there. But the initial spark came from the Chinese markets, in my opinion. Thank you to Real Vision for really pointing that out to me and giving me something to look into. And I said I would finish this episode this TA episode on a positive note, because I do think it's positive. I think that the cryptocurrency price is currently tied to that of the equities markets, or very similar. As you can see, when the equities markets come down, as does Bitcoin. This is the S&P. Bitcoin, you can see it's very similar looking structure. Zigzagging, tried to push out of the zone, did break the range highs, come back into the range. Zigzagging, did push out of the zone, did break the range highs, come back into the range. It's very similar. It's not identical, but it's similar. But I do think there will be a decoupling at some point, potentially. Again, it's not, no fine art, but this is from the 2nd of April, so 10 days ago now. And this is talking about bear phases and hodling accumulation. But when you start to see people hodling Bitcoin, the price does seem to go up. Look, it is a lagging indicator. They hodl, the price rises, and they're starting to really hodl again, whereas we have been dumping up until January 2022. But again, it's a lagging indicator, so we're hodling. Let's see that price rise. And then we've got this, look, Glassnode, Bitcoin's illiquid supply has risen for 214 consecutive days, strongest accumulation since 2020. So if you see the accumulation rates now, we are massively accumulated. And when you start to accumulate, it does normally mark in and around the bottom when we start to get up to these high levels. Look, with massively high levels up here and we start to rally, high levels up here, we start to rally, high levels up here, we start to rally, high even here, and we have a little rally. And then as Bitcoin starts to flow back onto the exchanges, we have those dumps, and then we've just been accumulating ever since. So for me, we're looking for a big rally here. When you have that long period of accumulation there, we do rally, a long period of accumulation here, look. It just means that it's a supply and demand curve. As soon as the supply, even if the supply is going down and demand even stays the same, at some point it's going to make the price go up. So that's what we're waiting for, guys. When we had this 188-day accumulation, from the start to the end of the accumulation, we started down here, and we really pushed all the way up here. And I don't know what the price action was here on the right-hand side. Look, the start of that accumulation, we're at about $10,000, and when we first saw our first take profit really was all the way up here at like 40,000. So that's like a 300% increase. So yeah, I just want to leave you on that, guys. I hope that kind of helps. I feel like it was a bit all over the place, the video, but I hope my idea about the markets has come across to you a little bit. If you did enjoy the video, as I said, please hit that like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Do you think we're tied to the Chinese markets at all, and what do you think is going to happen there? It's very interesting times at the minute, with obviously the geopolitical events and also the pandemic that's still ongoing. I'd love to know your opinions in the comments, guys. And if you have anything you'd like me to discuss, then please let me know in the comments. Peace up, A-Town down, as Usher would say.